Hey guys, welcome to Tech Gear TV, and this week we're looking at this, the DJI OSMO Pocket. So this is something I've just bought, and I've seen a lot of it here on YouTube, lots of cinematic footage made with this stuff. It looks pretty good. Now, I'm not an expert when it comes to making YouTube videos with cinematic footage and all this type of stuff. I'm normally just sat on my desk in the office making more sort of talking head type shots. What you're watching this on now is the Sony A5100, and I should be testing this camera, the DJI OSMO Pocket, with the Sony and also possibly my iPhone as well, just to see what it is that you can do with it if, like me, you're not an expert. And we're testing all this footage today here at Butlins. It's sort of like a family theme park type place, so should be some interesting footage. Also probably want to be testing out this little thing on some of these fairground rides just to see how it copes in all sorts of cool conditions. Anyway, I think we should just get into it, shall we? So we decided to test out the Osmo here on a fairground ride, and I gotta say, it's pretty cool because you can take it pretty much anywhere. Just hold it in your hand. The audio is actually being captured right now through a lav mic here, but yeah, pretty cool. Take a look around. And first up, we're taking a look at a couple of little motion lapse videos which I'd done here on the Osmo DJI. And I gotta say, I was really impressed at how easy this was. I didn't actually do this using the mobile app, but I just set it up just using the standalone DJI, just pointing the camera where I wanted it to start, where I wanted it to finish, and it just does all of this all by itself. What has really won me over with this DJI Osmo is just how easy it is to use. All you need to do is hold down that button for a couple of seconds, turn it on, and if you too want to do this sort of motion time-lapse type effect, you just swipe across. You can see there you can easily scroll between photo, video, slow-mo, time-lapse, and pano mode as well. So for, let me see, time lapse, now you can shoot just a normal time lapse or slide across where there's more options here. So what you just saw was a motion lapse, and you can also do a hyperlapse as well. By selecting motion lapse, all you need to do is put this on a nice secure place where the wind and everything isn't going to blow it over, and then you just physically turn this where you want it to begin. You hit plus and then move it over to where you want it to finish, hit plus again, and then just press record, and it will just start recording the motion lapse. And what you're watching right now is that awesome hyperlapse feature. So easy to use, and that really is the best thing about the Osmo, is the fact that it's just so simple to pick up and use for anybody, even like a really newbie type filmmaker like myself here on YouTube. It is so easy to use, and gives you this really great footage that you could use on social media. You could film little clips to put on Instagram or Facebook. This is just a really great little tool that you don't get on many cameras, and with that gimbal it just makes it super smooth, as well as just the sort of standard time lapse that you might be able to get off your iPhone. This is just so much better. Now, my idea when we went away there for the week was to compare this Osmo, the brand new Osmo with its little gimbal, with my old A5100 Sony camera. Now, the reason why I chose these to compare is because they're pretty much the same price. So for about £200 to £300, you can buy either one of these cameras. So which one should you buy is the question. And what I found is this tiny little Osmo here. One, it does look a lot smaller, so people don't really notice it when you're walking around filming, which is really cool, rather than trying to film yourself with this thing. They really don't see it. It's so small in your hand that no one's going to see it. And where this little beauty really wins is the fact that it has the motion time-lapse. It has actual time-lapse for that matter, and also the hyperlapse where you walk around with it. I absolutely love that feature. And of course, this one also has 4K, which this one does not have. This one will also continue shooting for pretty much as long until the battery runs out, whereas this one, the Sony A5100, does kind of overheat after about 15-20 minutes. Now that doesn't really affect me on videos like this because I normally just shoot for maybe like 5 minutes at a time, so not too big a deal. But this one does also do 120p, which is slow-mo. And this one will do about 60 frames per second. But that's not really slow enough for slow-mo. You know, it's only kind of half speed. So this one here totally wins out in every possible way. Now, we haven't seen the gimbal effects yet. So now we're going to compare these two just walking around both in the day and in the night. Now let me know what your thoughts are on these down below. And if you're looking to do some slow motion, all you need to do is come across here to slow motion there, and you got the choice of 1080p or 1080p. That is your only choice there for slow-mo. Now, I've not been too impressed with the quality of the slow motion coming out of the Osmo. It is a little bit grainy and pretty cropped in, but you know, saying that, it's still fairly good for what it is, and as long as you're in a good lit, well lit area, then you shouldn't have too much to worry about.
We're feeding the machine. That almost fit right there. It almost fit right there.
Yeah, this is really the problem with the Osmo when it gets into any sort of low light situation, particularly with slow-mo. I found, or to be honest, any low light conditions, it becomes very grainy and distorted and really struggles in the dark, or not just the dark, as you see right here, just the sort of indoors low light. It doesn't really do particularly well at all. And outside again, you can see it's a little bit less grainy, certainly looking a lot better than it was indoors. I don't know what you're thinking, please let me know in the comments below. However, this bit here, we're on the racetrack now. Look at those wheels, check out the engines at the back of the cars. I think there's a lot of detail in there. So I think outdoors, it does pick up a lot of detail, even in slow-mo. But I'll be honest, when you are in slow-mo, it is very cropped in. So it's not as a wider angle on the lens as what you'd normally have. So you have to stand quite far back from the action. And that can sometimes not be a great thing. Okay, so what we're looking at right now, this is the Osmo Pocket again, and we're going for the sort of run-in shots, and this is what it's like. Obviously, it's on a gimbal, so it's pretty steady all the way around, and this is what you're going to want for those cinematic sweeping shots as we come around here at the front of the boat, and yeah, that just looks absolutely great. I do love that. So the gimbal, and it's such a small little form factor, fits in your hand, is fantastic. So here I am running very fast, well, you know, fast for me, and it's pretty smooth all the way. And we're going to take a look now and see just how that compares with the Sony A5100, and this here is the Sony A5100. Vicky, you come in? So you can see here, just walking along, it's not really struggling too much at all, and I think you've got a much clearer image with the Sony rather than the Osmo, and particularly this is a bit later in the day, so a bit lower light. and everything's still nice and clear and crisp. Oh, that boy, he is so embarrassing. Oh, dear. And here we go, going for the same sort of shot. Obviously these are kids, so they're not going to do the same cool thing they done the first time, but you can see it's not looking too bad at all. I do quite like that, and it's really the image quality on the Sony where it wins out. And here I am again running on down the road, and yeah, pretty smooth. I like it. And this is it side by side now, so we've got the Osmo on the left and the Sony on the right. I don't know, what do you think, guys? Comment down below. Okay, so were you impressed? The A5100, yes, definitely better video quality than the Osmo, and also just as stable. Actually, I'm lying. This here, this is a Weeble Xeon Weeble Labs, and this is what this was sat on. So this is basically just a big old gimbal, and I was just walking around with that. And this, just look at the size difference, guys. You know, yeah, I'd certainly prefer to take this around with me than walk around with this monstrosity. So just to be fair, here is the footage just handheld with the A5100.
What are they doing?
If this jiggery footage doesn't show you the reason why you need to get yourself an Osmo Pocket, I don't know what would. You can see here just walking around trying to keep it as tight as I can. It's particularly here in low light. It's very difficult to keep it steady, and then obviously in low light, because it's not steady, it has trouble focusing and really getting the details. And as I begin to run right now, oh my goodness, it all falls apart. This is completely unusable. The footage from the Osmo was just so much better and so much easier. Now we've switched now to the Sony with the gimbal, and it's a whole different story. So it's no longer falling apart in low light, it's performing very well, very clear. Now that is shot at a f1.8, so a very small aperture, and it's very hard for it to actually focus, so I could have done with a larger aperture just to get more in focus there, but yeah, there you go. That's it without the gimbal, and it's horrendous. So even with running with the gimbal, it was still really smooth. So after all of that, guys, you've seen all the footage. I've not actually edited it just yet, so do let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. Personally though, I do prefer the A5100 for the image quality. I do think it's a lot more of a professional quality, despite the fact that this does 4K. But generally the footage coming out of this is pretty good, and I think just for the versatility I would definitely prefer this. However, as a vlogging camera, it does it's just a bit too close. It's a bit too close. So, but anyway, do let me know in the comments down below if this has been helpful, and also what you would like to see next. Would you like to see a review on the Weeble S, or maybe a more in-depth review on the Osmo and how to use it? I don't know, guys, pretty new channel, so I'm not sure exactly what it is that you're looking for, so any input from you guys would certainly help me make a much better video than this next time. So that's it for now, and I shall see you all again next week. Actually, there is more. So the Osmo Pocket also does photos. What you're looking at right now, these shots are the large photos. It basically takes 6 photos, 6 normal size photos, stitches them all together. But as you can see by the floor in here, they are pretty warped. So that is a very small building, and it's very twisted. This is outside. You can see somebody just stepped into the shot on the last frame. And now this is low light. That graininess is back on the Osmo, but we're going to compare this grainy Osmo now with the Sony for low light so that you can see the difference. So this here is the Sony, so just look how crisp that is in low light. And again, low light, very crisp for the Sony. I'd have to say I absolutely love the Osmo, and I think it definitely has a place, but the Sony is more of like a main camera, and the Osmo is more for the speciality shots that you might want to take using the gimbal, using the hyperlapse, the motion lapse. That's where the Osmo really wins, and definitely is as an add-on to your main camera, but as a standalone one-size-fits-all vlogging camera, certainly not. And that is it this time. I shall see you all again in the next video.